Mr. Bluefield. Hi, everybody. Welcome. It's February 2025. Welcome to Indy Story Slam. Listen, this is presented to you tonight by Freetown Village and Storytelling Arts of Indiana. Sponsored by Maestro Organizing. Greg, where are you? He's not here tonight. And our media partner is WFYI. Listen, do you remember the theme for tonight? Ooh, Déjà vu. Now, I looked that up. Déjà vu means, in French, technically, already seen. I had a déjà vu that it was too cold for me to go out today. But I came, and I'm so glad to see everybody else here who came out tonight, because you knew that only God knows if it's going to snow on us tonight. Bless our weathermen. Our theme tonight can be interpreted in any way you want. But we got some rules. You know this needs to be a true story. But like I always say, how do we know if it's a true story if I don't see your nose grow? We don't do any vetting here. And since the rest of our country is not doing it, I don't see why we need to do it now. This story needs to be told in the first person. It cannot be any longer than 5 minutes. You can tell longer than 5 minutes if you want to, but we are not going to include that in the scoring, and you might lose some points. So I suggest you practice. At any rate, don't bring out your iPhone, your Androids, your iPads, your Amazon Fire tablets, because we're not going to let you use them. You need to be able to tell this from memory. And remember, the theme is Déjà vu. Well, I got a green basket up here. My basket is empty. So, welcome. Samantha is collecting all of your forms. Now, I know you're sitting there thinking, I don't have a story about déjà vu. What you do? What's going to happen is when you hear somebody else's story, it's going to jog your memory bank, and you are going to think of a story you want to tell. It's okay. I will be begging you for stories all night long. Thank you, Samantha, for taking care of everything related to the slam. Thank you, Shannon, for doing all our media, our content. Thank you to the judges, timekeeper. I don't know where you are, but I can see the form. At any rate, you want to know that March, our theme is 4. And I know you're thinking F-O-R-E, like for golf. Nope. 4. F-O-U-R. I want you to think about that as we listen to our first telling. Because I got some commercials to do while you think about stories that you want to tell. Ooh, we got a goodie coming. Jen Clee. Come on down. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
When I was a freshman in college, I fell hard for this guy named Matt. Matt was a senior at Notre Dame. He was funny and sweet, and best of all, he liked me. The only downside was we met at the very end of the school year. And so he was about to graduate, and the next semester I was going to study abroad. But we kept in touch over the summer. He would send me letters and gifts. But then I went to study abroad and didn't hear from him. I blamed it on the Italian mail system and the fact that we didn't have access to email. This was in the 1900s. But when I got back to the States, there was a letter waiting for me from Matt. And he said he had good news. He was coming back to South Bend, and my heart leapt. And then he continued, he was coming back to join the seminary to become a Catholic priest. And my heart sank. All that time not hearing from him, it wasn't so much that he ghosted me, he wholly ghosted me. And I don't know if any of you have had the experience of being dumped by someone who fell in love with someone else. But when that someone else is God, it has a different vibe. So you cannot sit around with girlfriends and talk about what a jerk he is, because they'll just, I mean, if anything, they'll say, what a great guy. You also can't wonder, what can he possibly see in this other person? It's impossible to feel morally superior to someone who leaves you for Jesus. I tried. And then there's the weirdness of going from calling someone like babe to father. So when Matt broke up with me, I acted like I was happy for him and for me. I told him, good luck. I told myself, we need more good priests. 14 years later, I met Danny. Danny was funny and sweet, and best of all, he liked me. He bought me gifts and wrote me by email. This is in the 2000s now. And we dated for a bit, and then came the day he sat me down and told me that he felt like he needed to discern the priesthood. Once is a coincidence. Twice, you have to ask yourself, what is it about dating me that makes celibacy so attractive? And so Danny tells me this, and all I can think is, not again. I have a priest friend, not one I dated, who tells me that there is a name for women who chase after seminarians and priests. Apparently, it's a thing for some women. They're called chalice chasers. And I wondered, is there a name for a woman like me who drives men to the priesthood? Someone who puts the men in seminary, so to speak. When Danny broke up with me, I didn't act happy. I didn't tell him good luck. I didn't tell myself we need more good priests. Instead, I said a lot of other things that I think surprised us both. And by the end of the conversation, or if I'm going to be honest, my monologue, Danny was done discerning the priesthood. He and I were married a year later by a very good priest. Thank you.
I was kind of worried there. Because I know Danny, and I kept thinking, well, how did this come to a happy ending? Thank you, Jennifer. That was wonderful. Listen, I told you we're meeting March, and our theme is 4. But we'll be at the Jamaican Breeze at 4189 North Keystone Avenue. Now, listen, when you heard her story, didn't that make you think of another one? Don't you have a deja vu story you want to tell? I'm thinking you do. So she's got empty slips. She's going to put them in this lime green basket. But in the meantime, I want to give you a commercial. You might want to know about upcoming events. For instance, March 9th from 2:30 to 4 p.m., Once Upon a Time Storytelling Circle is up at the Hamilton East Public Library, the Fishers branch. Now, if you want to practice some folk tales, fairy tales, mythic tales, you want to meet with an informal yet supportive group of people. Storytellers of all skill levels, as well as all listening levels, will be there. You will know that it's hosted by professional storytellers Deb Gallery and Liza Hyatt. And this right here, raise your hand, Deb. Show them who you are. I know after church you want to go out and have a good hot meal that you didn't have to cook. But before you do that, stop on by the Hamilton East Public Library at the Fishers Branch at 2:30 and see if you want to tell a tale or two, okay? Well, that commercial's over. I'm going to save another one for last. I'm going to reach into this lime green basket and pull out a name. I love it how they fold it up. They fold it. My hand goes to the folded one so quick. And right now, oh, Stanley, come on. You got a story to tell. Stanley's also our timekeeper.
Hello, everyone. I must say it's really hard to follow after Jennifer. Yeah.
You're lucky.
Okay. So, has anyone here heard of Hasbrook Heights? Hasbrook Heights, New Jersey? I'm not surprised. It's a have you? It's a very small town, about 40 minutes from New York City, and I used to live there. So I used to live there many years ago, and it was the first time I owned a home, and I was very proud and very happy. And small little house with a front lawn. And what was challenging for me is that I had never taken care of a lawn before. And this was the type of neighborhood where everyone lived there and worked in the city, and they kept their lawns very well manicured. And my lawn was the worst in the neighborhood. And so I felt quite insecure about that. The other thing that I found challenging was their recycling system. This is back in the days when people took recycling seriously. I don't think people still do today, but especially in Hasbrook Heights, New Jersey, they had a very elaborate system for putting your recycling outside on the curb. And so they had, you had a bag for your glass bottles and plastic bottles. You had a bag for leaves, and you had your cardboard and papers had to be well put together and tied with a string. And so I had to learn that. It was time consuming, especially on winter nights, because you had to put them the night before. So I was trying to cut corners and I cheated the system. So what I would do is I would take a box, a cardboard box, and just put all of my papers inside the box and just put them outside. Um, and then one night after doing that, it was a cold night, so I put my box out and rushed back inside and went to bed. And then I woke up in the middle of the night. It was a very windy night, and I had a nightmare. I had a nightmare that all of my personal mail, the wind had sprayed everyone's lawn with my personal mail. And I was convinced that I would wake up in the morning and my neighbors would know immediately which idiot in the neighborhood had put his recycling on the curb without doing it properly. So I woke up in the morning before anyone else in the neighborhood, and I walked down the street, up and down the street, picking up my personal mail and junk mail off of everyone's lawn to make sure that no one knew that I had been responsible. And that day, I made a decision that this would not be a deja vu for me. From that time on, my recycling deal was the best in the neighborhood. I had my string with a bow and all the bags in the proper place on the curb.
I get it for you.
That was hilarious. Listen, I remember back when they started recycling, and my mother would always rinse out the Budweiser cans and dry them, scrunch them, put them in plastic bags, and hang them on hooks by the back door until she got enough to take to the recycling bin. And when she got there and they weighed everything, she was so disappointed with the small amount of money she received that she never did it again. So from that time on, anybody who needed cans could come to our house and get all the beer cans they could get. And that was the end of our recycling. But I applaud you. I applaud you. Listen, on March 15th, you want to know this? At 7 p.m. at the Indiana History Center, we will have Sally Perkins and Mo Reynolds, sponsored by Rick and Frances Whitner. The unveiling of the wisdom behind world folk tales, folk and fairy tales, with Sally Perkins and Mo Reynolds. Favorite tales told by Sally Perkins, and fractured tales and flawed humans told by Mo Reynolds. I can't wait to hear these stories. But I'm going to tell you more about that right after I pull the next person's name out of his lime green basket. Ooh, I know we're in for a treat right now because it's Debbie Gullery ready to tell the story. Déjà vu, I saw this coming, Debbie. Hey, everybody. Hello, everyone. Hello.
All right. Well, when I first thought of this topic, the first thing that came to my mind in terms of deja vu. Hello. Okay, there you go. The first thing that came to my mind originally when I heard the topic, deja vu, was all the times that I've lost weight and gained weight. It's a very deja vu experience for anybody who's ever had that. But then I thought that would be like a really depressing story. So I decided against it. And then I was thinking about another area in my life where I have experienced something again. And that is now that I'm a grandma. Any grandmas or grandpas out there? Okay, so one of the things that I enjoyed the most when I was a mom was reading to my kids. And we were like a big library family. I mean, we went religiously every week to the library and we got books for each kid and for the parents, and we got puzzles, and we got, remember cassette tapes? Oh, that's a long time ago. And we got you know those, remember those books that you could hear on tape? Remember, I mean the little book, the kids book that you had to, anyway, we got everything. We lived with a bag like this. And I just have such fond memories of having one of my kids in my lap or sitting snuggled next to me or in bed and reading. And it was one of my favorite things. And all my kids luckily are readers now. That makes me happy. And now I have 2 grandsons. And I have a deja vu experience every time I read with them. The thing that's different now is that I'm a storyteller. So sometimes, because my oldest grandson is 6, so sometimes when I get a storytelling gig and it's around his age, I'll practice my new stories on him. He's like the perfect audience. I'll try it out and I'll see, is it below his age group? Is it above his age group? Does he laugh when he's supposed to be laughing? Is he paying attention or goofing off? So he's a great barometer to let me know that I'm doing an okay job with a new story. So one time I said to him, hey, have I told you the story about, and I don't know if anybody knows the story. It's a story called let's see, it's about a little, oh my God, green. Thanks. But no, it's green. It's a green thing. Green.
Frog.
Yes, like a gecko. Lizard. Oh, lizard. Thank you. It takes a village to remember anything at my age. Okay, so I'm telling him the story about the lizard. I think the story is about the lizard who helps. Oh, it's a story of the sun. The sun gets lost. Nobody can find the sun, and so everybody's trying to find the sun because it's miserable without the sun. We all know this because we are now living without the sun, right? So, okay, so that's what the story is. And I'm telling the story, and he's kind of goofing off. So I'm a little pissed, but I'm not saying that. But I'm just like, you could try to pay attention while your grandma's telling you the story. And then he starts leaping around. And I'm like, what's he doing? Why is he not connecting to the story? And then I realize he's actually acting out the story. I know. He was so connected to the story that he was being the lizard. I kid you not. I mean, he was not even aware that he was doing it. That's what was so cool. So he was being the lizard. And then I was talking about, there was a woodpecker in the story. And I started talking about the woodpecker. And he starts going around going like a woodpecker. And I thought, what is going on? And finally I said to him, are you being the animals in the story? And he kind of looked at it like he didn't realize it, and he goes, yeah. And I said, well, that's pretty cool. And we just kept going until the story was over. And it was probably one of the best storytelling experiences I've ever had. I've always felt, the power of storytelling. That when you do it well, you can connect on such a deep level. But I never had that kind of experience before. So that's my déjà vu.
Thank you, Jeff. That was great. We need to squeeze some more people in. So if there's room at your table, like over here, come on over. Come on over. Squeeze on in. Everybody's welcome because you know what's going to happen, right? You're going to hear a story and you're going to think, I got just a perfect story to tell. I want you to know about Freetown Village's upcoming events. The Freetown Village Singers will be at Westminster Village North tomorrow, 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. They will be at the Hoosier Village Retirement Community. The Freetown Village Singers will perform for the residents of Westminster Village North. That's Monday. They will also be at Hoosier Village Retirement Community on the 21st of February from 7 to 8 p.m. So if you got any friends in those highfalutin places, because I've been there and I don't think I can afford it, okay? But if you got friends who are there, you might want to just go visit them for that time period and listen to the Freetown Village Singers because they are so good. Also, they will be at the Rockville Correctional Facility on Saturday, February 22nd from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. I think they have a stricter policy on visitors at that place, but it's up to you. They will perform at 10 a.m. But right now, I'm going to reach into this lime green basket. I'm going to pull out another name. Our next teller is Dylan Phelps.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I'm Dylan Phelps. I have two adult children. One's a girl and one's a guy, and I have 6 grandkids. Now, my son, he's a mama's boy, and so he has lived within maybe 30 minutes of us his entire adult life. Now, my daughter is very, very independent. And she's lived all over the United States. She's lived in Portland, Oregon. Seattle, Washington, Milwaukee. Where else has she lived? Oh, currently she lives in East Lansing, Michigan. She's a professor at Michigan State. So, since she's lived so many different places, with her up and moving, it doesn't mean anything to me. But I tell you, the first time I went to her home in East Lansing, I'm like, I've been here before. It's a older home, almost 100 years old. She loves older homes. The gentleman that lived there before her was a contractor. He had the home built. So it had one owner the entire time, and he passed away at 99 years old. And so as I was going into the house, her house for the first time, I said, well, let me go to the bedrooms. And I went right left. And she said, well, Mom, how'd you know where the bedrooms are? And I said, I just know. And I said, well, you didn't tell me you had a pool. She said, well, Mom, I don't have a pool. I said, you got some kind of water up in this house. And what it was, it's a old jacuzzi that was not really working, that she was going to have filled in. But I would tell you what I sensed and what I knew. I said, there's some money in this house. And she said, what do you mean, Mom? I said, there's some money hidden in this house. And there's a big boulder right outside her backyard. There's some money underneath that boulder, too. But the boulder's like 20,000 pounds, so she's never going to get that money. But she said, Mom, you're just tripping. And so I said, well, no, it is. It's something about this house. The house made me feel so warm and so welcome and comfortable. So didn't think much about it. And I'm serious. This is a true story. About 2 years later, her husband was crawling through the attic because there was a water leak or something like that. And she called me on the phone. They both did. They FaceTime. And he had money, like a big old fan. They had found $3,000 of hundreds up in the attic. So always listen to your mama.
All right.
I know that's right, girl. I know that's right. I can't wait till they move that boulder. It'll probably be gold under there. Okay? So don't leave the house until they check under that boulder. Listen, you might want to know that at Martin University on Tuesday, February 25th, a lecture, African Americans and Labor, will be from 7 to 8:30 p.m. at the Evans Center at Marion, I'm sorry, I said Martin, at Marion University. Their Department of History and Global Studies will present a captivating vignette featuring Freetown Village residents, Reverend Samuel P. Strong and Sarah Elizabeth Cuffey, along with Madam C.J. Walker, exploring the theme of African Americans and labor. Following the performances, there will be a question and answer session. The performance is only 30 minutes, so hang out February 25th and February 26th from 7 to 8:15 p.m. How many of you thought about another Déjà vu story? Now, don't forget, Samantha's over there with blank slips. You want your name on those slips so I can reach into my lime green basket and pull out your name. Because right now, Amy Sullivan's going to tell us a story.
So when you're a parent of infant children, there's a saying that's the days are long and the years are fast. And this is true because every day feels like déjà vu. Every day is the same, right? You're Louder? Oh my God. All right. Usually people tell me I'm too loud, so this is. All right, so the days are long and the years are fast when you're a new parent because every day feels like deja vu, right? It's first you feed them, then you change them, then you burp them, then they go to sleep if you're lucky. And then you feed them, and then you change them, and then you burp them, and then you put them to sleep. You're lucky. And then you feed them, and then you change them, and then you burp them. And over and over and over again. And so you don't know what day it is until all of the days have passed and they don't live with you anymore. I tell you this on the other side of that advice. You don't know that the days are long and the years are fast until you're an empty nester. My children are now 24 and 21. Well, almost 24 and 21. And I can tell you that indeed the days are long and the years are fast. But one thing that does not change is the deja vu of parenting. And I can tell you this from the experience of somebody who's a college graduate, came home without a job from college and promptly took up the space on the couch that she had when she was 13 and laid there and told me how awful her life was on a regular basis. And then proceeded to tell me, I don't mind that you asked me to empty the dishwasher, Mom, but I would like it if you would let me know that you expect me to do that so I could work it into my schedule. And I thought to myself, the days were long, but the years are fast. And I flashed back to a deja vu moment when the pediatrician said, your life will be easier if you can put her on a schedule. And so I decided somewhere around that time that there would be a schedule of when she would be paying me rent. And all of a sudden, she decided that maybe living with Mom and Dad wasn't the best option after college. I am happy to report that she no longer lives at home. She lives here in an apartment with her cousin, and we get along much better. It's lovely. And I can also say that we got another reminder about the deja vu of parenting when currently our 21-year-old came home for a month-long break at Christmas. He's a junior at University of Southern Indiana, and he came home and he was of course, reminding me that he said, Mom, you have to have a conversation with Anna. Tell her she doesn't get to tell me what to do. You have to stop telling her. She's making me crazy. You don't get to tell me what to do. I'm 21. I don't have to listen to anybody. And I'm like, noted. I'll make a note of that, sir. He doesn't have to listen to anybody. In case you're wondering. This is a flashback, another deja vu moment. He really doesn't have to listen to anybody. He never did. He never will. I have learned this. He has apparently learned this too. He came home and told us about his speeding ticket that he got, which required a defensive driving class. And he came home and I said, do you need some help registering for this? He's not really been great with some of the executive functioning things. He said, no, Mom, I'll do it myself. Spoiler alert. He needed help. He did not do it himself without help, which is fine. He'll get there. I'm not worried about it. He's doing great in college. He did need help. But at another dinner meal we had, a couple days later, we were having a conversation, and he's like, "You don't get to tell me what to do." He's like, "I don't have to listen to this conversation." And we actually, most of the conversation, this is making him sound worse than he is. We have a lovely time, and I'm enjoying the time I spend with him now more than I did during most of his teenage years. And I will be sad when he is officially no longer home in the summers and on breaks. But I will say that when he said something about what he was going to do, and my husband looked at me, we locked eyes across the table, and he said, I do it myself. My husband said this to me. Like we looked at our side and he was insisting, he's like, I do it myself. The only thing that was missing from our little deja vu was the foot stamp that goes with it. So the days are long and the years are fast. And I can't wait to be a grandma when we see just how many more of those deja vu moments get to play.
Thank you. That's when our parents wish that their grandchildren act just like their children, so they get revenge in that way. I understand. I know that's how it goes. Listen, I know some of you are out there now thinking, oh, wow, I got a story I can tell. Samantha's standing right here with a blank form. You can write your name. You don't even have to spell it right. And we will call you up after I put you in this lime green basket because you might have a story about deja vu. I don't really have a deja vu story. I have an old car. My car is like 2004. Yes, it's still running. I think this is my last car. I don't think I'm gonna buy another one because they just cost too much. I used to listen to my aunt, uncle, and parents talk about how now cars cost more than their houses did. And as one of the elder people in the room, I'm so sick and tired of people calling me on my phone wanting to talk about my house. Now look, if I want to sell my house, I will call you. And if I sell my house, where you gonna put me? And I love the enticing advertisements that say you don't even have to clean it up. We will come in and give you an estimate. So now I'm hanging out with older people, and all we do is make a list of crazy things we want to say to people who call us up on the phone. So we look at the phone. I was at my brother's house the other day, and you know that this was some solicitor, and they might get 20 to 30 calls a day. And so we decide whether or not we want to answer this particular call and decide what crazy thing we want to say to the person who answers, who has a misfortune of calling us on the phone. So if you got any good tricks like blowing a whistle into the earpiece, and remember those old days when we had regular phones, we could just slam it down. Y'all have missed the joy of slamming the phone down on somebody. But right now, when they call me and want to know if they can send somebody to my house, I just said, no, honey, I'm not interested, but thank you anyway. It's just not as satisfying as it could be when you push the button to end the call as it would have been if you could slam that phone down. And I will not be slamming my phone down anytime soon because the prices keep going up. But now, if you got a story to tell, let me know. I'm reaching into this lime green basket. Our next teller is Tracy. Finally, Tracy Whitman, come on down.
What's that? We do.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Deja vu. A lot of people have different opinions about deja vu, and we all have them. We have them, but they're so fleeting. They're gone. You'll be with a group of friends walking down the street, and you'll say, stop. I did this before. This happened before. I remember this. Deja vu. I'm not going to tell you what my theory is on deja vu. You'll see at the end. When I was growing up here in Indianapolis as a little kid, I had these two aunts that had moved to New York. They were so jazzy. Oh my goodness. We loved these two aunts, my sister and I. We loved these aunts. And we loved our New York cousins. So we would imitate them. My mother, my father, we would imitate their accents. We were going to be like them. And I kept saying, one of them's name is Mosetta, and one of them's name was Inez. And we called them Ansel and Aunt Piggy. And I would always say, oh, Ansel, I want to come there and live. I want to come to New York and live. I want to be there. And she'd say, you too? Okay. And I was a little girl. And they had a good connection with my mother. My mother had her wig shop and they would send wigs from New York to my mother. And I was just so excited about New York. Well, I grew up, but that dream never left me. I needed to live in New York. I had to live in New York. So I went to college, and my cousin in New York was a grown man by then, by the time I got out of college. And I said, I'm coming to New York. I'm going to live with you. And he said, okay, come on, cuz, come on up here. And I can remember thinking, oh God, I'm going to be in New York finally. I'm going to be in New York. First time I drove there, it took me 5 hours to get from Manhattan to Brooklyn because I couldn't find the Brooklyn Bridge to get over. But I knew I was going to be in New York. I knew I was going to be in New York. So finally, I get to New York. And my cousin who introduced me to who is now my husband. They both had an apartment in Park Slope, Brooklyn. And it was nice in Park Slope. I mean, you were all she poo poo when you lived in Park Slope. So I can remember the day. Because like I said, deja vus, they come, but they're fleeting. They go away. You don't remember them. But this one has stayed with me until now. And I moved to New York when I was 23 years old. And now I am blank blank. So I remember the day. It was a sunny day. And I was walking down 6th Avenue in Park Slope. I was walking and it was sunny, it was nice. And I was just so happy that I was in New York. Probably didn't even have a job yet, but I was just so happy. And I remember the moment I stepped off the curb. I don't know which street it was. We lived on Berkeley Place between, well, no, that's a lot. Well, I don't know who I was. I think I was probably had moved in with my boyfriend, who's now my husband. So I stepped off the curb to the other side of the street. And I can remember it as if it were yesterday. There was a mailbox there. And I stopped. And I said, I've been here before. I know this city. This is my city. I have been here before. I know these houses. I know this place. I'm supposed to be here. I have never forgot that deja vu. You don't remember them when they happen. You remember at that moment, you'll say, like I said, you'll say to your friends, this happened before. This happened before. I remember this, right? But I knew from that moment I was supposed to be in Brooklyn. And as a result, I married that man who was from Brooklyn. I raised 3 children there, graduated them from college in Brooklyn. And I knew that was the right thing. So in essence, in my mind, a deja vu is a sneak peek into what you have already set as your life plan before you even get here. And that's my interpretation of deja vu.
Thank you, Tracy. And she married that man. I'm loving these romance stories. Okay? My romance story didn't turn out like that. The things I can say, but they ain't got nothing to do with deja vu, so I'm gonna hush up. But now, if you got a deja vu story that you're thinking about, Samantha's right there with all these empty slips. Look at how somebody folds this. The nerve. The nerve. Look what they did. Thinking I wasn't gonna pull it out of there. But our next teller is, you know who you are. Get on up. You know who did this. Dorothy Ellen. Come on down. Dorothy. She's coming. Can't wait to hear this story. We can do some more commercials. Now, I hear they're going to do a drawing in the next room. I don't know if we should be waiting at 744. Let's do a story. Here you go.
I bet deja vu remembers doing the little airplane things like that in school. Oh my goodness. I'm really not used to this, except kind of winging it in my life. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Now talk as loud as you can. Okay. I thought, what am I gonna write about? I can talk about. So I think my deja vu might be deja forward. Because I got a lot of deja vus. When I was growing up in Hills, Pennsylvania, most people have to or embellish their stories. We play ourselves down. Believe you me, we grew up in a very traumatically extraordinary environment, to say the least. And here I am in Indianapolis for 22 years. And I'm just kind of excited. This is my first time here. I don't even know how I found out about y'all. Are you the first track? Bill's in Pennsylvania, half of the McCoy lineage. That's who I am. I used to be able to argue with myself to get away with it, but now I just laugh with myself. How about that? I had surgery in December. I made a foot shoe. My surgeon was very impressed. I kind of jimmy rigged it like I used to do in Pennsylvania. So anyhow, I'm really excited about, I can't believe how many people are here on a cold, snowy night. I think we should give ourselves a hand. Yeah. Pretty cool. Wow. There's a lot of writers and a lot of storytellers, obviously, in the audience today. Is it everybody in this room? Yeah. Wow. Anyhow, I'm very excited because I was just recently, I just applied for the public speaking, a 6-week course of public speaking, and I got a note in the email and said I got it accepted, and I'm so excited. So, and it's connected with veterans, and my daddy was, I'll give you a little spoiler with my memoir I've been working on for 20 years almost. He was a raging alcoholic from World War II, and we bore the brunt of it. Boy, is it quite a doozy of a story. So, anyhow, that's my story, and I'm sticking it forward.
Thank you so much. Listen, we are all family when we are here telling stories. Remember that. And thank you, Dorothy, for doing that for us today. Listen, is there anybody else who thought of a story? All right. Shannon Sampson is going to grace us with a Déjà Vu story. Thank you, Shannon.
I thought I would tell you all how the Taylor Swift me buying tickets story saga ended, because I never did get to it. The last time I won an Indy Story Slam, Jen Clee was probably busy that night and did not show up. But I won because I went on a 5-minute tirade about how I could not afford Taylor Swift tickets and how I should go because I'm a fan and I pay taxes and that stadium is practically mine and your daughter doesn't, so she doesn't deserve to go. I should probably get her ticket. And you guys all love the story. Anyway, so I found myself just thinking about it all the time. And I consider myself a woman of action. And so I needed to make this happen. I have resources. I have a job. I have credit cards, right? So I started looking around in Europe. And I almost booked a flight for myself to Dublin. And Ticketmaster was like, you can have a ticket on Sunday. And I was like, it was Saturday. And I was like, okay, can I have a ticket to the Monday show? Me talking to the platform, the Ticketmaster platform. They're like, Sunday or nothing, get here now. I'm like, it's Dublin. I'm going by myself. All right, so that didn't work. And then I almost bought tickets to Madrid, except then I did the exchange rate and I was like, oh shit, those are VIP tickets. No, get out, get them out of the car. So finally I settled upon Vienna. And I really thought I outsmarted everyone because I got floor seats for $900 American. And I racked my brain to figure out who my rich friends were and who would think this was a good idea. And I found one. And my friend Wendy went with me and she got us seats to this rooftop bar. And it was the night before the show. And the phone is, I'm looking at the phone and they're reporting that there's a terrorist plot that has been foiled, but the show would still go on. I was like, okay, great. Whew, thank goodness. And then as the night went on, the news was, oh, no, they're going to cancel all 3 shows. It was so sad. So there's this carnival in the middle of town, and it's like it's an amusement park, and it's called the Prater. And there's all these girls in sparkles just crying at the fair. It is what it looked like. It was the saddest thing, just walking around town like zombies. And so, I mean, I still had a good time. I was in a foreign country and whatnot, but I didn't get to see her. So I was like, all right, well, I'll be damned if I don't get a show or get to see the show in Indianapolis where I actually live and should be able to get a ticket. So I just put myself out there on these Facebook group pages where I was like, hey, I have a spare room. If anyone has a spare ticket, I'll buy it. You can stay with me for free. I'll drive you there, you know, all the things. And then finally a girl reached out to me and she said that she would sell me a ticket. And it was like a drug deal. Like I had to vet her and she had to vet me. And then I just sent her half the money. And then she put one ticket in my account. And then I sat there and kept hitting refresh. And then she put the other one in and it didn't refresh right away. And then when it finally did, I screamed so loud I scared the dog. I was like, oh my God, Déjà vu, I'm going to see Taylor Swift. And I was so excited. And I ordered this bodysuit, this sequins bodysuit, and I stuffed myself into it. I dislocated my shoulder to get into it. And I went down there and my attitude was not joyful because I was stressed out. And I brought my best gay, Jay, with me. And he's like, are you even having fun? As we're walking up to Lucas Oil Stadium. And I'm like, I think I'm just anxious that I'm going to get up there and they're going to be like, these tickets are fake. Because Taylor's been taken away from me already once. What if she's taken away from me again? And so finally, when you put your ticket through the scanner, it turned green and we went in. And I paid $1,500 for one seat, and the seats were shit. $1,500 for shit seats. And I had floor seats in Vienna. But anyway, I got to be there. And I would say the only drawback was because I was in this sequin bodysuit that some might argue did not fit. I didn't want to go into the restroom with all the ladies. So I just sneaked over to the family restroom. And I waited, and there was no one waiting. And I was like, I outsmarted everyone once again. And this man came out, and as the man came out, another man was trying to go in. And I said, I'm waiting. And he goes, why don't you just use the women's restroom? And I go, I have something I need to do in here, sir. I mean, I could be breastfeeding, I could be douching, girl stuff, okay? And then I unpacked myself out of the sequin bodysuit and put it back on. And the only thing I would say is the concert was great, but it is for the girls and the gays, and straight men should not be allowed inside because they ruin it for everyone. Thank you.
I really wanted to know how that concert went. Because being in the United States, knowing you were in Vienna, and then seeing that they had canceled the show, I almost died.
I know.
Okay. I was dying for you. But I said, I hope they eat the food and have some fun anyway. And you did. Now, I know there's somebody else in this room who has another Déjà vu story. So you come on and let me know. I got plenty of time. I have nowhere to be. I've already been to my orthopedic surgeon today. He says I'm doing better than I was the last time he looked at me. I didn't realize he was as worried as I was about my knee not functioning. Now, when you go to these places, they ask you, what is your expectation? What do you want to be able to do? And the only thing I want to be able to do after this recuperative period is to do the wobble from my garage door down to the end of my driveway. And when that occurs, I'm going to have it videotaped and I'm going to put it on Facebook and send it to all my friends. So that's my goal, all right? But in the meantime, Samantha Powers has a déjà vu story. Think about what you feel right now.
Hello. So, for those of you that have seen me tell a story before, this is yet another story about my 20-pound love of my life, Karen Terrier named Thor. So I got Thor when I was more or less young and stupid. I was not ready for a dog, but the second, I kid you not, it was literally the first full day we had in our first home, my now husband and I. we went out and got a dog, and that is Thor. He seemed like the perfect dog. There were a couple red flags though. First being that when we went to go get him from his previous family, they had like 4 other dogs. They had puppies with Thor. And for some reason they were like, do you want this dog? Do you want him? You can have, just take him. And I'm like, oh, this is a great deal. They're just giving away this purebred little buddy, and he is meant for our home. So I would say about a week or 2 passes by. Dog's house trained. He's crate trained. Everything's great. He only ate through like a third of our blinds. But all in all, it was pretty good. So I'm like, yes, we hit the jackpot. The other family, they are missing out. We're sitting on the couch on a Sunday afternoon watching football, and all of a sudden my phone rings. And I said to my husband, I don't recognize the number, but it's Indianapolis. I'm not going to answer it. We'll see what happens. Nothing happens. His phone lights up, starts to ring. He goes, oh, that's weird. It's the same number. Maybe I should pick up. And I'm like, it's fine. It's probably just spam. Picks up. They say, hey, are you missing your dog? And we look at each other and go, no. And we look down at the couch, we look at the floor, we look at the crate. And then he picks the phone back up before he hangs up and goes, actually, yes, we are missing our dog. Thor had made his way about 4 houses down, and the person on the other end of the phone call said, don't worry, he's happily in the backseat of my car. So we walk down there, we get him. We realize he cannot handle the responsibility of a doggy door. We move on. A couple of years pass. We actually end up moving down the street to another house where we currently are to raise our family. And my husband is taking out the trash one night. Now, keep in mind, Thor resembles Toto. He is midnight black, and although he's a chunky guy, he's a sneaky man. And as my husband is taking out the trash, he comes back in. It's a cold night. It's dark. We start to talking. I go back into the back room to grade some papers. And again, my phone rings. Now I know better. If it's an Indianapolis number, I'm going to pick up. And someone says, hey, are you missing your dog? I don't think so. I call it to my husband. He goes, oh, I took the trash out. He must have snuck under my legs when I took the trash out. So I asked these people, I say, well, do you have him? Can I meet you? Like, where are you? And they said, oh, well, we started going door to door, and we finally got to a door, a house, and the couple was just elated because they said they had been looking for a dog. So I left him with them. I mean, I'm a runner, but I have never ran so fast in my life. Like, you are not taking my little man. So I'm out of the door. Turns out they were having a party. They had some drinks, and they said that in the morning they probably would have realized that they should not keep this dog. So more years pass, and he's my little guy's he's gonna be 13 this year. I realized. I know. Don't say that. He's gonna live forever. But I actually thought he was turning 12, so I'm now grieving the year that I supposedly lost, but I didn't really lose. Anyway, so Thor is becoming a little man. He's showing more gray hairs. He's missing more teeth, and the teeth he does have are pretty spread out. But he has selective hearing, but he's a good boy all around, and he's not as much up to his antics as he used to be. This last summer, we welcomed our second daughter into our home, and Thor, as much as I think he's annoyed by the tiny humans in our household, is excited because they drop food for him. They drop pieces of food for him. But on our way to the hospital, where I would have my daughter later that day, I'm starting to panic, and I'm like, oh my goodness, 2 kids, 2 dogs, so many cats. What are we gonna do? Did I mess everything up? And my husband's like, no, it's just hormones. You're gonna be okay. And then 5 seconds later, right before we leave to drop off my older daughter at my in-laws and go to the hospital to have this baby, Thor finds this little bit of energy deep down inside him and takes off down the street. I, 9 months pregnant, start waddling after him before my husband says, why are you running? I'll go get him. Runs down the street, eventually catches him because, again, he is going to be 13 years old and he gets tired easily. But that's just to go show you that the more things change, the more they stay the same.
Is there anybody else who has a dying desire to tell a deja vu story? I'm looking at that table down there. Way in the back. Over there, anybody? Anybody? I could auction this off like Obama's seat. Going once, going twice. All right, listen. I want to remind you that we have cash prizes. Is that enough to entice you to tell a deja vu story? And we have these canary yellow slips that we want you to complete because we're going to have a drawing and you can win some free tickets to an upcoming event. I want to remind you that our next session will be at Jamaican Breeze. And the topic is, I don't remember. Four. F-O-U-R, 4. Don't forget, on March 15th, the unveiling of wisdom behind world, folk, and fairy tales with Sally Perkins and Mo Reynolds. Don't forget, Freetown Village is going to be singing at Westminster Village North on Thursday, February 20th. That's tomorrow, from 11 to 12. Go in, put in an application, and sit down and listen to the folks. Also, on February 21st, from 7 to 8 p.m., there'll be at Hoosier Village Retirement Community. I don't think you want to go to the Rockville Correctional Facility because if you go in, you may not get out. But they will be performing on Saturday, February 22nd. That is George Washington's birthday. Any of y'all remember we used to be able to celebrate President's Day you got off for Abraham Lincoln's birthday and you got off for George Washington's birthday. Now I listened to them do this little spiel on TV the other day about why it was President's Day. But I seem to recall that when they finally decided to let us have Martin Luther King Day, they took away one of the presidents. Okay? Now y'all check me out, but it's not even deja vu. This really happened. Okay? Anyway, let me go on with my commercial. Don't forget, at Marian University, their Department of History and Global Studies, on Tuesday, February 25th, from 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. in the Evans Center. Freetown Village will be there as well. They will present vignettes featuring Freetown Village residents, Reverend Samuel P. Strong and Sarah Elizabeth Cuffey, along with Madam C.J. Walker. And the theme is African Americans and Labor. Do you have anyone else who wants to tell a story? Speak now, forever hold your peace. Well, then let's talk about the prizes. You did a fantastic job, and I appreciate you all coming out.
Got a one. My name is Janet. And clearly I just thought of this story and remembered it this evening. So I haven't really prepared anything, but all the stories inspired me. So my name is Janet. I'm from Michigan. And once upon a time, a long time ago, I had an interesting hobby of doing ghost investigations. So going into haunted houses and investigating them to see them. And I worked with a team of people who were scientists and mediums and all those sorts of interesting people. My job, along with my friend, was to go to the house before we would go investigate and learn about the house. So we would interview the homeowner, we would go to the town hall, and we would learn about who owned the house, who was born there, who died there. We would learn all the things we could about the house so that when we did the investigation, then we would know, like, oh yeah, there was somebody who died here by that name, or oh, there was somebody. We could verify that things were true or were not true. So one of the stories that stood out to me the most, that was reminding me of this topic, was a woman named Pam. We went to go investigate her house. So we got to Pam's house ahead of the investigation to do some research and learn more and to interview her. She told us a fascinating story. She said that she had lived in an apartment on the west side of town, and every day for 2 years, she had driven across town to work, taking the same route every day. And after work, she would drive the same route back home again. Nothing unusual, the same thing day after day. Until one day, she was driving the same route, but this time as she drove through the neighborhood, there was an old Victorian house on a corner that she had driven past many times before, but today it stood out to her. Today it caught her eye. There was something about it that pulled her attention, and she dismissed it and thought, it must be nothing. The next day, she drove to work, and again, this house popped out to her. It stood out to her, almost calling her attention to for something. She thought, I'm perfectly content. I live in a nice apartment. I have a nice job. I don't know what the deal is with this house, but she continued to drive past it, and on Friday of that week, when she drove home from work, she noticed that there was a for rent sign in the corner of the house. And instantly she felt, I feel like I'm supposed to move to this house. So she called the number on the sign and made an appointment to go and see the house the next day. That night, she had a dream. And in her dream, she was standing in a dining room, a beautifully decorated dining room. And to her right, there was an old country kitchen with a large window over the sink, with a country large sink. To her left, there was a living room with a china cabinet full of china against the wall that clearly had been treasured by generations of this family. There was a long hallway, and in her dream, she walked through the living room and down the long hallway, and she saw a door ajar about 6 inches. Curious, in her dream, what that was, she went to the door and opened it. It took her down a set of stairs to a Michigan basement. If anyone else is from Michigan, we know that the old Michigan basements are dirt floors. And so there's a dirt floor basement with the root cellar, the wooden shelves across one wall with the canned goods that were stored away for the winter there. But unusually, in the center of this room in her dream, there was a table, a circular table, beautifully decorated, with a linen tablecloth on it, all set with the fancy teacups and saucers and everything beautifully done. And there were 4 ladies sitting at the table, all dressed in long Victorian gowns, beautiful flowered hats, had their gloves on, and they were having afternoon tea. And one of the ladies turned and looked at her and said, we've been waiting for you. And she woke up from this dream in the middle of her night, and she thought, that was really odd. The next morning, she went to her appointment to go meet this person at the house, to go take a look at this house. And when she walked in the front door, she found herself standing in the dining room of her dreams. And to her right, there was a kitchen with a large window over the sink, a large country sink. And there was a dining room, there was a china cabinet along the wall with the china that she had seen the night before. And there was the living room and the hallway and the door. And she knew that this was where she was supposed to be. She knew that for whatever reason, this was her home and where she was to move next. About a month after she moved into the house, things began to happen. Doors began to open and close, drawers opened and shut, unexpected sounds, and most startling to her, one day in her upstairs bedroom, as she left her bedroom door and turned to go down the stairs, at the top of the stairs was a shadowy figure of a woman in a Victorian gown. And she knew who it was, and then she called us.
Oh, wow, wow. Ooh, that was scary. Now, remember that for ghost stories, okay? Here she goes. We're going to collect the, you want my lime swing basket? Wow. That was a fantastic story told here tonight. I don't know what I did, but I didn't. Reminding you, we want to see you March 15th. We want to see you at the Hampton East Public Library, the Christians Branch, on Sunday at 2:30 on March 9th. Once upon a time storytelling service.
It might have changed.
Okay. I also want you to remember, if you have any questions before she runs out of here, their Gulliver is right here. She can tell you about that. If you want to practice any kind of storytelling, show up or be present. Get your tickets at storytellingarts.org for practicing fairy tales with Mo Reynolds and the unveiling of the wisdom behind world folk and fairy tales with Sally Perkins and Mo Reynolds. All right, we're waiting for the results.
Stay the same. I'm gonna click more yellow sheets.
All right, we're gonna have a drawing at the end. We have third place, Jan Clee. Second place, we have Stanley. And first place, we have Shannon. You have to come up real good when taking your picture and putting it on Facebook.